now for Allo.Capital. Thank you to Travis for the opening meditation and to Emily for the other opening meditation. Mentor Mike Kriak used to say, has said about Allo.Capital that we're taking capital allocation and making it extend. So I think the fact that we had two opening meditations is appropriate. Hey Mike, thanks for putting that meeting member in. I'm going to ground us in the vision for what we're doing with Allo.Capital, and then Rena and I are going to talk about the flow of today and how we're going to bring that vision to life together. So I'm going to run through a couple slides with my vision for what it is that we're doing here, and then we'll get into more logistical things. So I think that we're here in the Ethereum space and today because it's all coordination. There are problems out there in the world that we suffer because we cannot allocate resources and coordinate in order to solve them. And those are things that we talk about in systemic change circles, things like biodiversity collapse and climate change at the global level, or just as simple as solving problems in your local community. But they are also problems of business and of commerce, things like reaching product market fit or reaching profitability for your venture. And so I think of what we're doing here in the Allo.Capital space, in the Gitcoin space, in the Ethereum space, as solving for coordination failures. I think that we have a new stack that is going to create new opportunities for solving these coordination failures. We are all here as part of the Ethereum and blockchain movement, built on a foundation of Ethereum, which is a network of stakers that together run a new financial system that is meant for more equality and more democracy than the old financial system. On top of that, Vitalik and Ethereum have given us smart contracts, the ability to program our values into our money. And so what's the first thing that we did with it? We made tokens. We started tokenizing things. And we're now standing on the shoulders of these giants at a place in which the multi-trillion-dollar market cap of the blockchain ecosystem has created millions of tokens and trillions of dollars of capital that has been tokenized. I think that where we want to get to with this financial system is getting to a new layer of collective action and human coordination that are going to solve all of the problems that I talked about at the top. In order to do that, I see a missing layer of this stack, which I think is the capital allocation stack. Capital allocation sounds financy, but it's just any time that you spend money in order to achieve an outcome. When you booked your flights to Denver, you allocated capital to achieve an outcome. When you buy a coffee, you allocate capital to achieve an outcome. But at scale, capital allocation becomes a full-time job and becomes mirrored in gatekeeping and central organizations that are unable to meet the needs of the people that they're supposed to be allocating to. And I think that blockchains are going to provide a new way of allocating capital that more reflects the values that the blockchain space has brought into the world. Things like transparency, everyone has equal access to the state of the chain. Democracy, so basically we can build programmable institutions that everyone has equal access to having a say of how we allocate capital. I think that instead of just financial capital, I want to broaden the scope of the conversation to the 8 forms of capital, and it's a real blessing to have here the author of 8 forms of capital, Mr. Gregory Van Goy, here today. Capital, you got to help me out with
Cultural capital,
living capital,
financial capital.
I forgot about financial capital. Anyone else forget about financial capital this week? I think that the fountains that we're building, the resources that we're allocating, are ways of building bridges between different types of capital. So you can look at an NFT marketplace as a bridge between social capital and financial capital. You can look at what Gitcoin has been doing when we funded Climate Round as a bridge between material capital and financial capital, and that's what we're building here when we build different fountains that are designed to distribute resources in new ways. So this is our North Star, is to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet, to build that missing link between the financial system that the Ethereum and other blockchain ecosystems have built and the collective action that we need to solve 21st century problems with 21st century infrastructure. We are going to summon the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet in many phases, but I think that you can think of the path as follows. We're going to define this category, and I think that this is a venture scale category that we're going to be building in. I think that there's going to be trillions of dollars of tokenized assets over the next several years into the next decade that, the big bankers are talking about the tokenization of stocks and bonds and currencies. And I think there's going to be so much capital that is tokenized. We can build an infrastructure that allows people to meet their shared needs on top of this infrastructure with capital allocation software. We will become a category creator of the on-chain capital allocation space. And after we've done that, we're going to draw a through line from us to that space and continually reinforce that through line over time. So let's start by defining the category. You may have seen over the last 6 months or so, I've written a couple books about on-chain capital allocation. I've also invited collaborators here who have written their own books about this design space in different ways that we can allocate capital. And so we're already making a play into owning the narrative and educating the ecosystem about what on-chain capital allocation should be. But let's actually look at the resources as they exist today. Over $100 trillion worth of stocks, $100 trillion or more worth of commodities, $4 trillion worth of currencies, and that's the broader traditional infrastructure that I think is going to be tokenized over the next 10 years. Within the Ethereum ecosystem, which sometimes it feels like that's all there is, but to me, the layer ones and layer twos, there's treasuries of trillions of dollars of capital that need to be allocated to help propagate their memes. There's the DeFi ecosystem, there's stable coins, there's meme coins, there's DAOs, there's exchange-based tokens, and there's going to be future categories of on-chain infrastructure that's going to be built. And these are going to be the customers of Allo. We're going to reach those customers by providing them new ways to allocate capital to meet their ecosystem's shared needs. So for a layer one, that might be getting more people to consume their block space, layer ones and layer twos. For DeFi ecosystems, that might mean advancing their primitives out into the world. For impact DAOs, that might mean allocating money to what has impact in local communities. And it is through this through line of building new ways of allocating capital in these ecosystems that are 10x better than the old ways by leveraging the power of blockchains that we're going to be able to build a venture studio that I think can become massively profitable and grow and create a movement of more capital allocation and collective action in the 21st century. What we're doing today, thank you, is summoning a proto-DAO that is going to systematically leverage the network intelligence of the Ethereum ecosystem and channel it into and around Allo.Capital as a network-centric venture studio, and channel the builders who are building this ecosystem to work with us in order to build this capital allocation infrastructure. I think that Allo.Capital can be the first money into builders that are building crowdfunding platforms. We can be distribution into people who are building crowdfunding platforms as Gitcoin goes multi-mechanism, and we can leverage my platform and media presence in order to build the customer base of them. And we've also got research and intelligence that we're building about where this space is going, making bold bets like writing reports on what is the future of AI and on-chain capital allocation, what is the future of the Ethereum ecosystem progressively decentralizing, what is the future of local capital allocation on-chain. We can provide resources and intellectual capital to the builders of this ecosystem. So that's what we're doing here today at Allo.Capital, is summoning an ecosystem of builders who are going to build the capital allocation layer of the tokenized internet. I've got builds that I want to show off to you today. We've got DAO designs that we want to show off today. And we've got lots of tools and artifacts like gongs and fountains to make my creative happy. So with that, thank you for coming. I'm very excited to be here. I'm going to hand it over to my co-founder, Rena O'Brien, to talk about the rest of the day. Can I get some snaps for Rena?
Thanks for that, Milwaukee. Yes, we've got a ton of things scheduled for today. In case anyone's wondering if we're going to draw the rest of the Fucking Owl, we will be doing that. Going through a bunch of different activations in terms of capital allocation. The first one is our world map done by some of our internal team members. You can actually access the Pinocchio board here. And part of what we're doing with this activation is actually just hearing from all of you what you want to get out of today, what you like about capital allocation, questions you might have, what type of shampoo does Milwaukee use. We've got a setup downstairs with some sticky notes on the board, and Travis is the gatekeeper, for lack of a better term, for the world map if you want to talk to him getting some of these digitized, and we'll be going through that at lunch. More pretty designs here. And for those that haven't picked up a brochure, this is the overview of the day. As Milwaukee said, we'll be walking through some of the builds that have been created in, around, and on Allo. We've got 5 in total, I want to say.
5 that we're showing off today. There's a dozen more out there.
Yes, I will say emphatically we are not going through downtime. We will be talking about them, but we had an overwhelming response. I think we're up to 33 design submissions now. I'm very tired. And it would be a very long day if we were going through them all, but I will be talking about the process and how we got there. We've got some great entries, and it just wouldn't do justice to pick only a handful of them. We'll have a fireside chat with Milwaukee and Montbenet. We'll be writing in a little bit. And then we've got some fun things planned for the afternoon. I know that Denver ends up being quite busy for a lot of you, but we will have some reveals happening around 3:30, I believe it is. This will be a very emergent day, as you can probably tell if you're looking at my agenda and then at your watch. We will try and keep as close to the agenda as possible. And then otherwise, I believe it's break now, and then we'll be getting into some of the builds. Coffee will be resuming outside. We've got the Allo IRL, is one of the very first builds. In case you were wondering what our dashboard looks like, the work of Woven Web and John Foe, it's going to be absolutely amazing. You'll be able to vote, and we'll walk you through how you do that in 20 minutes or so. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the rest of your day.
So it's 11:09 now. At what time are we coming back?